section, we're going to be looking at a word that I have so much trouble pronouncing, the amortization schedule. And all that means is this just a fancy word for paying off a loan. So when you get a mortgage, often they are going to prepare this list of what is going to happen in your loan as you pay it off. So each month they'll tell you how much of your payment is going to go to principal, how much is going to go to interest, and how much you still owe on the loan. And in your home purchase part of your finance project, you will actually create an amortization schedule for a home that you are interested in purchasing. So what we need to do in this is to figure out how to set up an Excel sheet for the whole schedule. You'll do that in your project. Right now, we're just going to do a few things in Excel so that you can answer some of the homework type questions. So we're going to look at the Lightfoot family. They have a 30-year mortgage at an annual interest rate of 6%. And after making payments of $2,315.69 for 6 years, they decide that they want to pay off their loan so that they can purchase a new home. And so we want to calculate the loan payoff. So basically, we just want to see how much they owe after this amount of time. This is a lot like the last example that we did, where we figured out how much they owed, or how much she owed after 3 years, and then switched to a new interest rate. It's a similar problem to that. So let's see how Excel is going to help us do this problem. The way you handle a payoff problem is you actually solve for the present value for what would be the rest of your loan. So let me show you what I mean by that. We're going to solve for this present value, and we're going to look at the term that's left. And in this case, it was a 30-year loan, but they made 6 years worth of payments. So they made 72 payments, meaning they still have 288. And our future value, we want to pay this off to 0. And the payments here that we've been making were $2,315.69. And so let's go up here. We need the interest rate as well. So their rate was 6%. And we'll go up here to this present value, and that's what you solve for a loan payoff. You equal PV for present value. You've got your rate divided by 12, comma. You've got the number of periods, so what's left, that's that 288 number. Then the payments, we're going to do minus the payment, and then comma, our future value, which we could type in 0, or I made a cell for future value this time. Close parentheses, and we see that they still owe $353,013.33. So that would be the payoff amount for their loan. Now, I know that we've looked at so many different things in Excel, and it can get quite overwhelming. And I just want to remind you that when you go to take your final for this class, you are going to be able to make yourself a list of things that you want to write down on a piece of paper. So you can remind yourself what to do in Excel, and you absolutely will get to use Excel during the test. So I just wanted to remind you, if you feel like, wow, there's so much with Excel that I've got to do, I don't expect you to be an Excel expert with just a few lessons on it, but just using it some and writing down what you need when you take the test. And you've seen where when we started writing the function, it told us exactly what we needed to type in there. So let's take a look at another example here. And here, a lender may offer a 4.375 mortgage rate, but the APR is 4.478%. So what's going on there? So the difference is the APR adjusts for the points and the loan origination fee that are required to secure the loan. So even though you might have a particular interest rate, often you'll see a higher value for the actual APR because that's effectively what you are paying each year on top of the cost of that loan. So if we look at this violinist for a symphony who obtains a 30-year mortgage with $320,000 at an annual interest rate of 2.875% with 1.75 points. The loan origination fee is 0.6 points of the loan amount. So how would we find the APR for this loan? So we've got a few things that we need to do in order to answer this question. First, we need to figure out the fee for those points with the original loan. So take the loan amount, multiply by 1.75%, So there's $5,600 in fees for the points. There's also that loan origination fee, 0.6%. So we'll multiply the loan amount by 0.006 to see that there's a $1,920 fee. So let's take the amount of the loan, you owe that, the fee for the points, the origination fee, and what you actually need to pay back is $327,520. So the first time I guess the only time when I purchased my house, it was a big shock when I got there and there were all these additional fees that I had to pay. And the loan was for more than I had paid for the house. And this is why. So now we've got this new adjusted loan balance and we want to calculate the interest rate here. So let's set up Excel with all of the things that we've been looking for, but we're going to solve for the interest rate this time. Let's fill in what we know in Excel and solve for the rest. So we will use the adjusted loan amount of $327,520, and the rate here is it's a 2.875 rate. So we're just going to do that for right now, and I don't like that it rounded. If you need to change that, one of the ways that you can do this is you can increase the decimal like that. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. But you also can specify with the percent, you can change the formats. But I would just use this little function here. And I'm assuming that it's like that on a Windows version of Excel. I am using a Mac version, so it might look a little bit different. And I don't have a Windows-based machine here at my house to tell you if it looks the same. So if it's not there, just let me know and I'll look it up on YouTube and try to figure out where that would be for you. But hopefully it looks similar enough between the Mac and the Windows version. So we've got our term. It's a 360-month loan. We don't know the payment, but we want to pay this down. All right, so first, when you do this, the first thing you need to do is calculate the payment. So we'll do equals PMT. We've done this 1,000 times now. So the rate divided by 12, the number of periods, comma, the amount of the loan, comma, and then our future value, close parentheses. And so her loan payments are $1,358.86. But now what I want us to do is to go back and figure out what the rate would be. And this is going to seem a little strange. She borrowed $320,000 and it's a 30-year loan. We're going to put in these payments, 1358.86, with that present value. So I'm kind of just copying this over, but now I'm going to resolve this for the rate. And to solve for rate, I'm going to use a formula here. So I know there's several steps for this, so just write down what it is that you've got to do. First, find the payment for the adjusted loan amount, and then put in the original loan amount with that payment and solve for the rate. Formula name, it's really easy. It's rate. So do equals rate, and then parentheses. We'll have our number of payments, comma, and then our payment, we need to do negative payment because we're paying that back, comma, our present value, comma, and then our future value. Close parentheses. And that should not have given me 0%. Here's what I did here. We just found the monthly rate. So this calculator is going to solve for the monthly rate. We need to multiply it by 12 to get the yearly rate. And so now you see it's going up to 3%. And I want you to pay attention up here where I am doing the decimals. And so I'm going to say in this cell, I need some more decimals. So increase decimal. And now I can see that it's actually 3.0562. So that is actually the effective APR of her loan. So I remember the first time I took one of these financial math classes and how overwhelmed I was when doing Excel. So I've been there. I know exactly what you're feeling. Just take a deep breath, follow the steps. When you're doing your homework, watch this part of the video again and, go through the process. And if you do it a lot, you'll get used to it. But this is a short class, so you probably won't master it in this short amount of time. Before we close out this section, I do want to spend just a few minutes talking about the advantages and disadvantages for buying versus renting. We had a discussion board post where we did look at one way of deciding if you should buy or rent, and here are some other things that you should consider. So one is, how long do you plan to stay in the home? Whether that's a house or a condo or a townhouse or a co-op, how long are you going to stay there? Because if you're not going to stay there long, don't buy a house. It's too expensive at the beginning. For all of those fees, we saw how much those closing costs were, all of those fees that go into securing a home loan. So if you're not going to stay there long, it's not worth it. Also, how much money do you have for a down payment? If you don't have 20%, you're going to be paying additional PMI, and you need to decide if it's worth it for that. How much is the house going to buy, or how much is the house going to cost? Sometimes there's a buyer's market and a seller's market, and if it's a seller's market, then that means that the house prices are a little higher than they might be in another economic situation. Also, you have to think about your income tax bracket. And the reason you have to do this is because depending on how much you make a year, determines what your taxes look like. And a few years ago, your standard deduction was a lot lower than it currently is in 2020. But before that, the interest that you paid on your home loan could be taken off of your annual income. So basically, you did not have to pay taxes on that money. But now with the standard deduction being much higher than it used to be, it's not advantageous for most people in the middle class to do that anymore. So you kind of have to pay attention to that. It used to be a no-brainer that, your home interest, you could write that off, so it was a great investment. But it's not as good of an investment with the standard deduction being as high as it is. Now, if that changes in the future, then we'll talk again. The consumer debt that you have also plays a part in this. If you have a lot of debt, you're not going to be able to get the loan that you want. And that is a consideration for whether or not you're ready to buy a house. And then how much can you afford for a monthly payment? And houses tend to be bigger than apartments. And so you might not be able to afford an entire house yet. So those are just all things that you have to think about. And then there's other expenses with a home that you probably don't think about. You have to pay property taxes. But you also, sometimes your home will go up in value. So my house has gone up in value since I purchased it, which makes my property taxes go up, which is why my mortgage payment has gone up. But what that means is if I were to sell my house, then I would probably make some money off of it. But then you also need to consider, are rents going to go up? We're not in a region of the country where the rent control is really a thing here. So rent goes up from year to year. When I was renting an apartment before I moved here, every year my payment went up $50, $60. So that was kind of annoying. So there's just so much that you have to go into whether you buy or rent. And when it comes time for that, I encourage you to do some research, see what's available, look at the big picture, and then come and look at the details as well. Because, like I said at the beginning of this section, buying a house is probably the most expensive thing you will ever do. So you don't want to make this decision without a lot of thought.